First, though, MPs have today urged the government to impose sanctions on Chelsea owner Roman Abramovich and the Arsenal shareholder Alisher Usmanov. The Prime Minister Boris Johnson has been accused of misleading Parliament by claiming that Abramovich is already facing sanctions. Our chief reporter Kaveh Solhekol is here. Kaveh, should Chelsea fans be worried today?
I don't think they should be worried today. Look, let's deal with what happened. The Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, announced sanctions against 5 Russian banks and 3 Russian billionaires in response to Russia invading Ukraine again. Now, the 3 Russian billionaires are 3 men who are close allies of the Russian President Vladimir Putin. And the 5 Russian banks are banks who have close connections with the media in Russia, also the Russian military, and they're also banks that are used by Putin's inner circle. Now, these measures, the sanctions that Boris Johnson announced, were broadly welcomed by members of Parliament this afternoon, but some of them wanted him to go further. Specifically, one MP, the Labour MP Margaret Hodge, asked the Prime Minister why Roman Abramovich, the Chelsea owner, was not being sanctioned.
According to expert legal advice I've seen, there are serious flaws in the new sanctions regime. Yeah. It may not affect oligarchs close to Putin who do not hold an official position in a company or own less than 50% of shares. It's too narrow in defining the individuals it covers. Unlike US legislation, it's limited in how we can sanction Russian government officials, and the definition of government of Russia excludes the legislative branch like the Duma. That means that kleptocrats who have stolen from the Russian people and support Putin would not be caught. Of Navalny's list of 35, only 13 would be caught. Abramovich, Usmanov, Timchenko or Deripaska would escape. Will the Prime Minister look again at the sanctions regime so that, in the words of the Foreign Secretary, nothing is off the table?
I thank her very much, and I think that I understand her concern, but I believe that she's in error in what she says, because we can certainly target members of the Duma. Abramovich is already facing sanctions, and in the announcements that I've made today, Gennady Timchenko, to whom she just referred, is specifically targeted. He's on the list. She's just mentioned him. He's on the list, as is Boris Rottenberg and Igor Rottenberg. And these are people who are very close to the Putin regime. But as I said to the House, they are just part of the first barrage.
So, Boris Johnson there saying that Roman Abramovich is already facing sanctions. He said Margaret Hodge was in error. Is he in error?
Yes, the Prime Minister did make a mistake there. You heard him clearly saying that Roman Abramovich has been sanctioned. That is not the case. And the first person who pointed that out to him was the Labour MP Chris Bryant. And Chris Bryant actually was not very happy with the fact that the Prime Minister walked out of the chamber as soon as Chris Bryant stood up to make the point that Boris Johnson had made a mistake about Roman Abramovich.
I hope the Prime Minister could just stay for a brief moment. It relates to what he said about Roman Abramovich. I don't think that's a courtesy of the House when the Prime Minister leaves in that way.
Go on, Chris. Go on.
The Prime Minister said that Roman Abramovich has been sanctioned. As I understand it, that is not true. I'm sure the Prime Minister was completely inadvertent in giving a false indication. But it would be helpful if the Prime Minister were able to correct the record. I just wonder, Mr. Speaker, whether you can either make sure that he does that, or you can make sure that he writes to the House and puts a letter in the library of the House just to correct the record. These are important moments of fact.
Well, you heard Chris Bryant there asking the Prime Minister to correct the record. And just in the past few minutes, the Prime Minister's official spokesman has said that Boris Johnson did make a mistake. The Prime Minister misspoke, and we are being told that the record will be corrected with parliamentary authorities.
OK, lovely. All right, so Champions League final, supposed to be in Russia. Is that going to happen?
Well, big question marks over whether the Champions League final on May the 28th will be in St. Petersburg as planned. The information we had earlier today was that UEFA were considering moving the final in response to Russia invading Ukraine again. Now, the Culture Secretary made her feelings clear about this on social media. She said, "I have serious concerns about the sporting events due to be held in Russia, such as the Champions League final, and will discuss with the relevant governing bodies. We won't allow President Putin to exploit events on the world stage to legitimize his illegal invasion of Ukraine." Now, earlier today in the House of Commons, Boris Johnson was asked by the leader of the Liberal Democrats, Ed Davey, about the possibility of the Champions League final being moved from St. Petersburg. And it was pretty clear that Boris Johnson does not want the Champions League final to be in Russia.
Can I confirm what I think he implied in an answer to a previous question, that he will push for this year's Champions League final to be moved from St. Petersburg?
As I said earlier on, I think it inconceivable that major international football tournaments can take place in Russia after, as I say, the invasion of a sovereign country.
Well, if the Champions League final is not going to be in St. Petersburg, obviously football fans want to know where could it possibly be. There's been talk that it may be at Wembley Stadium. The only issue there is that weekend, the weekend of May the 28th, we've got the League Two playoff final and also the Championship playoff final. So it would be difficult for it to be moved to Wembley. Other places it could be, for instance, it would have to be in a major city which can cope with 100,000 supporters coming for the weekend. So you would think places like Paris, Rome, Milan, Madrid, Barcelona, Munich, or even somewhere in Portugal. We've seen the last 2 seasons, for instance, UEFA has moved the final to Lisbon and Porto. It looks like the final could be moving again for the 3rd year in a row.
It certainly does. Kaveh, Solhekol, our chief reporter, thank you.